Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question comes to us from the True Stories collection, as in, it actually happened at an event that I was actually judging. Amy evokes a Fury while she controls Up the Beanstalk. Does she draw before or after she says what she's damaging with Fury's ability? So to answer this question, we'll take a look at the text on Up to the Beanstalk, and we'll see that it triggers when you cast Fury. In contrast, Fury's ability that deals damage triggers when it enters the battlefield. So the official sequence for how this would happen would be that first, Amy moves the Fury onto the stack and exiles a red card. At this point, the Fury spell is cast, so Up the Beanstalk triggers. That trigger goes on the stack on top, and that means it will resolve first, before Fury. Only after that ability resolves does Fury resolve, at which point it will enter the battlefield, triggering its damaging ability, and also the ability that makes you sacrifice it because it was evoked. Amy controls both of those triggers, so she chooses the order that they will resolve, but in either case, that's the answer to our original question. The draw happens before Amy has to declare what the targets that will be damaged by Fury are. This is kind of a tricky question because it's different from a lot of other similar ones. For example, if we were playing Pyrokinesis instead of a Fury, then the targets in distribution would be chosen as part of the process of casting that spell, meaning that the card draw would happen only after those decisions were made. Or, if you were playing a Fury with an Elemental Bond out instead of Up the Beanstalk, then the draw card ability would trigger when the Fury enters the battlefield, which is at the same time as the other ones. Amy would still control all those abilities and thus decide what order they were put onto the stack, but the targets and distribution for Fury's damaging ability are chosen at this time, whereas the card draw would happen only after the ability from Elemental Bond resolves. So you would still draw a card after declaring Fury's damage and how it would be dealt. There's another card that these decks often play that also cares about the distinction between triggers that happen when you cast a spell versus those that trigger when something enters the battlefield. Of course, I'm talking about Elesh Norn. Those triggered abilities that happen when a spell is cast, such as Cascade or the ability on Up the Beanstalk that draws a card from casting Fury, will not interact with Elesh Norn at all. Whereas those that trigger when something enters the battlefield, for example dealing damage with Fury, exiling with Leyline Binding, or drawing a card with Up the Beanstalk when it enters the battlefield itself, those will all either be doubled or stopped by Elesh Norn depending on what side of the battlefield it's on. I made a whole video where I talked about some of these kind of interactions with Elesh Norn, so if you'd like some more detail on how its ability interacts with things like Leyline Binding or Omnath or Sagas, then I'd recommend that you check that video out. But that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.